Hello, folks. So, there was an interesting question from one of the job search games participant that they asked me, what happens after the whole maxima minima thing? So, imagine we we have evangelized the idea that search for a job at local maxima, right? That is what we said. Now they asked me, what happens after that? Should you be always be in the zone for looking out, or when should you stop? And here's what I'll tell you, and I could be wrong here, right? Um, you have to realize that every phase of career has certain parameters or biases which the hiring manager in the future will use. So think of it this way, right? Each job has can be defined in terms of parameters. So for example, it can be whether it is a remote job, asynchronous job, is it high stress or low stress? Is it high amount of time versus low amount of time required to do your job? See, time and stress are different. Okay. Is it high pay or low pay? And then you can also have derived variables like pay per unit time. This can be pay per unit stress. Okay. Type of work is preferable or not preferable. But then there are a couple of more things here, right? Generally, whenever you switch a job, you incur a cost in terms of reputation. So in long run, companies prefer people with long stints at one place. Now this obviously depends. This place should be a high reputation place. Because if you are stuck at a mediocre company, then people will think, hey, this person could not find a better job. And mediocre is a relative term, okay? So for someone in Google, a lot of good companies are also mediocre. Do you see my point? So for somebody in Google, Walmart is also probably mediocre. Okay. Place, then you could not find a better job. That's what people think often. Okay. So it depends. What is your eventual target segment? Okay. People in general, long stints show that you have seen complete cycles and can be trusted as a leader. Often you will realize this if you look at careers of very popular people. When they switch a lot, they do not find their next job easily because companies can't trust them. So especially for senior hires, even if you are an individual contributor, even for IC roles, long stints are required because when positions are few, it is a good way to differentiate candidates from the pool. You see the point? So generally I would say, so the thesis is what you should do. I think try to climb to highest reputation, and however that reputation is, like, is it Google or is it the best open source company? That is something for you to decide. Climb to highest reputation company as early as possible and spend time there. Okay, that's general direction. If you cannot, if you find it uncomfortable, go to a decent reputation place where you can actually spend more time. So ideally you should not make switches. Do not make small stints. Do not have frequent small stints. And that is because it ruins your reputation. Especially as a senior hire. Okay. Then again, these are generic directions. You can try to go to a place which is a stepping stone for the next place. Example, go to Flipkart to be shortlisted for Google or FANG, but this should be once or twice in your career, not more. Okay, it's very important that you realize that, especially if the market is tough. This is very relevant advice. At the same time, you should continue, and this is very important. While I say all this, you should constantly interview. Interview at least few times every year so that you are well prepared for the market in terms of even acclimatizing, even I would say being aware of how good you are relative to your competition. So I'm saying do not accept offers, but try for these processes. You should do interviews so that you do not fear the process, which is what a lot of experienced people do. They stop interviewing and then become very rejection sensitive and fear the whole journey. Because of this, they lose optionality and become yes men. And literally I mean it. Yes men means, you become like an agent instead of a principal in Naval's terms. Because you are afraid to be fired. Because you are afraid of being fired. And you are afraid to say what you think, fearing the whole grind of job search. Have long stints, but keep interviewing to preserve optionality and to update your map of the market. And it is here that you will be able to compare your jobs on 10 parameters against what is available in the market for someone with your talent. I'll tell you an interesting story, okay? Example of someone who does not do that. Do the above. They do not interview because, they think they're being loyal by not interviewing. But because of this, they have no clue how the market values them or whether there is a genuinely better company with better, not pay exactly, but better accommodation for them, more suited to them. And then when they realize 3 years later that they were underpaid, for example, they become resentful. Of their current employer and quit in a haste, moving to an average place. If you actually interviewed or talked to the manager, the manager would say, if we had known that his market value is higher, meaning he would have asked, right? That is, if he would have asked for more remuneration, citing an offer or, some reference, we would have been glad to give him hikes which would have been similar to what the market values. But because for 3 years this correction did not happen, we cannot suddenly give this employee a huge hike, because that is not how the system works. That is not easy to convince the HR or leadership on. They can only be convinced of more gradual hikes. So this is just one example. I can probably talk about this for a long time, but yeah, that's that. I'm looking at the question. So you need to settle down. So you need to think of your career as move up, So summary, and maybe I'll miss something because it's a complicated topic to talk about. There are many things. Okay, the job is not just about money. The job is about, does your company give asynchronous job, remote job, high stress or low stress, pay per unit time, pay per unit stress, type of work, whether you want to do is good or not. Okay, summary. Move up on the parameters, at least on the reputation you should first, because that will ensure longevity in your shortlisting. Then you should probably keep looking and re-updating your map of the market, and then move. If try to stick to each company for 3 to 5 years. If you can, but if needed, use if the jump on any of the parameters is huge, right? Manifold, especially for reputation. Okay, if the jump is huge, then it's okay. I would say go for it. Okay, if the jump on reputation is huge, then feel free to have a small stint, but do this, few times, like sparingly, maybe 2 times over 10 years. Do this. Okay, not like, try to see how are your competitors doing. Do not do short stints often, especially not after 8 years experience, because senior folks are definitely judged on length of stints. Okay, so yeah, very nuanced question, lot of context required, but I hope you get some ideas from this. Okay, cool. See you when I see you.